I think Injective is ready for a massive move towards the upside. In today's video, I will exactly explain to you guys why I think that's the case, and also I will explain to you guys and how I'm going to capitalize on the next move towards the upside for INJ. Let's dive into the charts. When we start off on a monthly chart, we can see that this entire impulse right over here, the previous cycle for INJ, I would say, got fueled by this demand that entered the market right over there. Now we can see that currently INJ on the monthly chart has been retesting that entire strong demand area. Now while retesting the demand area, it swept the low right over here. And that to me is something I always find very bullish. Because when I dive into the mind of the retail traders and they see a massive impulse towards the upside like this, everyone that is either buying the top right over here or is looking to buy any sort of pullback on INJ, all those positions, they need an invalidation for their bullish thesis. Now some of those positions will have had their stop loss beneath the lows right over here. So I definitely think there definitely was some liquidity resting. We can also see that after we swept that low over here, we saw a pretty strong bounce towards the upside, all the way back towards $36. But we can also see that most of those stops probably were resting beneath the low right over here, because eventually this was the low that started this impulse to the upside. So many people that have been buying the pullback over here with leverage, they had their stop loss resting beneath the low right over there. Now we can see that once price swept that low over here, we once again are seeing a strong bounce towards the upside. Now while getting the bounce to the upside, 14 days of premium access to the best trading community in the space, Tribe Capital, for just $1 single. What's $1, guys? Honestly. If you don't want to do it, be my guest. But besides the $1, there's no strings attached. Yes, you have to fill out your credit card information, but you can cancel anytime you guys want. Follow the first link in the description down below, and I'll catch you guys in the tribe. We can see that on the daily time frame, INJ has seen a high probability market structure break towards the upside right over here. When we go back in time and we analyze the trend, we can see that INJ definitely was in a very strong downtrend on the daily. Over here we formed a low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Now INJ has finally formed a higher high, and we can see that we opened and closed multiple candles over here above that significant high that brought us to a lower low. Also on the 3-day time frame, we can see that the structure was visible, and also on the 3-day time frame we have opened and closed multiple candles over here above this significant high that brought us to this lower low compared to this low that brought us to that high. Therefore a significant break of structure. Now that to me is a high probability reversal sign. So we can see that on the daily right now, after putting in the break of structure, we can also see that at the exact same time, price has been creating a beautiful inducement right over here on the daily. Now what do I mean by that? I mean that while breaking structure over here, obviously we were also breaking through this supply area for INJ. Now we know that if you break through supply and you leave behind a bullish fair value gap, which we did over here on the daily as well. Let me mark out the bullish fair value gap in yellow. We know that we are looking at a potential bullish setup. We know that a lot of people want to long the retest into that bullish breaker block with their invalidation, for example, over here or beneath the low, and then targeting higher levels. But a lot of people don't know that you can only play this setup if you have a valid inducement above the breaker block, which we have right over here, because this inducement contains a lot of liquidity beneath it. Now smart money can then use that liquidity to fill their orders actually into that breaker to then provide a high probability bullish reversal towards the upside. Now why is this a valid inducement? Because that's also a thing that a lot of people don't really understand, because an inducement or a liquidity pool in general isn't as easy as just marking out a high or a low as I did over here, right? Actually, people need to place their stops beneath a certain low in order to engineer a proper and valid liquidity pool. And why was that the case right over here? Because after putting in that low, price broke above this high right over here. Now, this is a fake break of structure. Yes guys, I can see that we open and close this candle above that high, but the high that we break through carries no significance at all. Why? Because the high is only bringing us to a higher low, and then to a higher high. And instead, in order for a high to create significance, it first needs to bring us to a lower low and then to a higher high. And that is not the case right over here. And therefore, we are looking at a fake break of structure. A lot of people are trapped into low probability breakout positions over here, and all those longs are using this low to cover their stop loss, creating a beautiful inducement over here right above the breaker block. So if you get a retest into the breaker, you can start opening up a swing long position on INJ with your invalidation beneath a low right over here that we formed in the month of April, then targeting a lot higher levels on the price of INJ because the higher time frame is looking extremely bullish as well. We can see that on the weekly, I've mapped out a very pivotal range level for INJ. We can see massive resistance, then massive support several times over here before it turned into resistance again over here. Once more, resistance, 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 and over here it was providing support as well. Now what we can see on the weekly is that INJ has been confirming the deviation below the range low right over here. Meaning that after such a deviation of such a pivotal range level, you should be expecting a move towards that range high. Now when we look at the weekly, we can see that we have our range high area over here. We do not only have our range high area right there, we also have a massive wick that is yet to be filled on the weekly time frame. Now this entire area in between $42 and $52 is a massive take profit area for me for INJ, but also a massive draw on liquidity on price, because we know that after deviation of the range low, which we have over here, technically speaking, we should be seeing a push towards the range high over here, as long as we also have a valid liquidity pool around the range high, which we do have with this massive wick over here on the weekly time frame. And also the weekly candle afterwards had no wick to the upside whatsoever, another draw on liquidity. So what I will be looking at is for INJ to get a sweep of that inducement into that breaker block, which at the exact same time is also that very, very pivotal range low level on the weekly time frame. And then I'm looking for a bounce on INJ while I position myself long, and I open up some more spot positions, and then I'm looking for a quick expansion towards that range high, towards $42, towards maybe even $52 and beyond. So over the upcoming weeks, Injective is probably gonna pump massively. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you guys did enjoy today's video, make sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Ciao, ciao!